The gates of the factory loomed ahead, a wall of cold steel rising against the sky. Amy stood at the front, her hand resting on the latch, while Nya, Via, Chino, and Lemon gathered behind her. The air here was heavy, saturated with the sharp, sweet scent of crushed apples and boiling sugar. With a synchronized push, the heavy doors groaned and swung inward. Inside, the space was a cavern of motion. The floor hummed with a deep, rhythmic vibration that traveled up through the soles of their boots. Giant copper vats bubbled in the center, casting a golden light across the ceiling, while rows of mechanical presses moved with relentless precision, squeezing fresh cider into glass jugs. The five friends moved into the maze, weaving between towering stacks of crates and intricate networks of pipes. Every step on the metal grating rang out, punctuating the steady roar of the production line. They navigated the conveyor belts, watching the amber liquid flow like a river through the glass conduits. As they reached the main office, the sheer scale of the operation became clear. Fall was already there, moving between the stacks, her focus entirely on the loading process. Fall looked up from a stack of manifests, wiping sweat from her forehead. "I have a massive route today," she said, gesturing to the loaded crates. Without a word, the group moved. Amy, Nya, Via, Chino, and Lemon grabbed clipboards and keys, their movements practiced and efficient. They climbed into the vans labeled Syrup Delivery and pulled away from the loading bay. The factory gates swung shut behind them as they hit the open road. The valley stretched out, a tapestry of winding paths and sharp turns. They drove in a convoy, the vans swaying slightly on the tight curves. Through the windshields, they watched the sun dip lower, casting long shadows across the fields. At each stop, they jumped out, unloading heavy jugs. There was no wasted motion. They worked in a rhythm born of long experience, passing crates hand to hand until the trucks were empty. As the final delivery was made, the sky turned a deep, bruised purple. They turned the vans back toward the factory, the engines humming in the cooling air. By the time they pulled into the parking lot, the workday was nearly done. They stepped out, stretching their tired limbs, feeling the satisfaction of a job finished. The factory was silent when they stepped inside. The hum of the machinery had died away, leaving only the faint, rhythmic drip of syrup hitting the metal floor. Amy led the way toward the main control desk, her boots clicking softly against the grating. Then, the sound changed. A low, gurgling roar echoed from the deep center of the production floor, vibrating through the steel beams. It was not a mechanical noise. It was wet, heavy, and alive. The ground beneath them lurched, throwing Nya and Via off balance. They grabbed the nearest railing as the central vat began to heave. A massive, gelatinous shape surged upward, cresting over the rim like a tidal wave of amber sludge. It dripped with thick, sticky pulp, coating the floor. The creature rose, its form shifting and expanding, limbs made of bubbling, semi-solid syrup reaching out toward the ceiling. Someone had miscalculated the mix, and the waste had gained a terrible, singular purpose. The monster lunged, its mass slamming into the nearby conveyor belts with a wet, heavy thud. Sticky residue sprayed across the walls, sealing the exits. The friends stood frozen for a heartbeat, watching as the creature pulled itself free. The nightmare had begun. Amy dived behind a workbench, her hand closing around the nozzle of a high-pressure hose. She pulled the trigger, sending a jet of water into the creature's shifting mass. The water splashed harmlessly against the thick sludge, but it distracted the beast. Nya and Via sprinted along the perimeter, dodging swinging limbs of amber syrup as they moved to flank the monster. Chino and Lemon grabbed heavy metal crates, sliding them across the grating to block the creature's path. The monster roared, a bubbling, wet sound, and lashed out with a thick, sticky tentacle that shattered a support beam. Fall scrambled toward the main control panel, her fingers flying over the switches. She slammed the lever down, reversing the factory's cooling system. A violent blast of freezing air roared through the vents, hitting the creature head-on. The monster shivered, its fluid movements turning sluggish. The amber sludge began to thicken, crusting over with a layer of frost. Amy kept the hose steady, adding cleaning agents to the stream. The mixture hit the creature, accelerating the reaction. The beast let out a final, bubbling hiss as its limbs locked into place. Silence returned to the factory, heavy and absolute. The group stood amidst the sticky walls and the scattered debris on the floor, breathing hard. Nobody spoke. They simply picked up mops and scrapers, moving in a synchronized rhythm. Scrape, wipe, rinse. The sound of metal on metal became the only pulse in the room. They worked until the last trace of the incident was gone, the floor gleaming under the overhead lights. When the final bucket was emptied and the tools were racked, the tension drained from their limbs. They leaned against the clean, cold machines, their muscles aching. Above them, the factory skylights opened to the night. They watched the moon rise, a pale, steady light filtering down onto the workspace. The long day had finally ended, leaving only the quiet satisfaction of a job finished and the stillness of the valley outside.